Mr. Speaker, when I look at the estimates, I am encouraged and I am hopeful. Mr. Speaker, I am encouraged and hopeful because reading through the various ministers' statements on their respective ministries and their outlook for 2017, I note one theme that is consistent throughout, and that is empowerment. And Mr. Speaker, when you empower a nation, you accelerate its growth and you build resilience. Mr. Speaker, this budget seeks to ensure that it empowers the neglected and the marginalized individuals within our society, and it guarantees that their quality of life will improve, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budget seeks to use the empowerment of our people as a means of strengthening our profile as a country internationally and ensure that we continue to play a substantive role in the international financial market by having a robust legislative system that will in turn allow our nation to be able to prosper and grow. Mr. Speaker, this budget is filled with empowerment of our people at so many facets and levels within our society. I note from this empowerment budget, Mr. Speaker, that our police force will be given the support that they need in order for them to be empowered to fight crime.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, having the allocation that they have in the budget would allow them to be able to meet their objectives, and I quote, to deliver proactive, intelligence-led policing service to our Federation. Mr. Speaker, this would not be possible without having trained personnel within the police force. And I am delighted that this budget seeks to ensure that our fine men and women of the law enforcement body is encouraged to seek further education and training. Mr. Speaker, our police officers, defense force, Her Majesty Prison and Fire and Rescue Services will be empowered through the incentive of being able to pursue higher learning in their respective areas. And once complete, having the opportunity to be paid for that higher education sought.
We're doing that.
Mr. Speaker, our law enforcement body can be encouraged by the fact that they will be rewarded for taking that extra step towards higher learning. Mr. Speaker, we also see this idea of empowerment through the simplest gesture of having our hard-working police officers and soldiers being compensated, Mr. Speaker, for their hard work. That even on their days off, they commit the time and effort to come in to make sure that they're able to fight crime as needed in our society, Mr. Speaker. And now they will be compensated for taking that time off, for using their time off, Mr. Speaker.
Good.
Mr. Speaker, we all know that as mere human, it is our nature that we work harder once we feel a sense of reward and gratitude for the extra work that we do, and compensation in this regard is certainly a great incentive for our hard-working law enforcement body. Mr. Speaker, even more encouraging is the fact that our police and defense force will be afforded the opportunity to have a psychologist and trained counselor at their disposal. We just this week opened the mental health day treatment facility, and at that opening it was expressed over and over the importance of mental wellness. Yes. It was also expressed that one of the major causes of mental illness is stress and the way people cope with stress. We are all aware of the difficult and stressful task that our law enforcement body faces, and so the addition of the psychologists to be at service to our armed forces is truly a step towards ensuring we not only provide for the physical needs, but we also provide for their mental wellness. Again, Mr. Speaker, ensuring that we empower our law enforcement body to continue their good fight against crime and criminal elements within our society. Mr. Speaker, I am most encouraged, however, by the fact that this budget speaks to preventative methods that are being implemented. Case in point, Mr. Speaker, looking through the budget, we note that for the National Council on Drug Abuse and Prevention, they will now be afforded a full-time drug prevention officer. Mr. Speaker, very little is known of this council, but the magnitude of responsibility of this council, especially in our society as it stands today, is paramount, well needed, and required great support, not only from government, but from the wider community. Mr. Speaker, this council is a great source of pushing forward preventative methods that can protect our youths, Mr. Speaker, from falling victim to a life of addiction, which in turn leads to a life of crime. Mr. Speaker, this council offers counselors, drug prevention programs, technical support to schools, and in building and implementing drug prevention and awareness programs, all of which is needed. Mr. Speaker, I will delve more into the importance of this council a little bit later in my presentation because, of course, it's important to me because of the impact it would have on protecting our youth from the negative pulse of life of substance abuse, which can eventually lead to crime. Mr. Speaker, I am also encouraged by the work programs undertaken and planned by the Ministry of Community Development, Gender Affairs and Social Services. Mr. Speaker, I am encouraged because the ministry continues to introduce preventative programs that have the potential of transforming the mindset and by extension the lives of so many young people in our society, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it was in the summer of 2016 that they introduced the Boys Mentorship Program, positively touching the lives of our most at-risk youth by introducing them to male mentors that can give them the support and guidance required of young men in the absence of their fathers. Mr. Speaker, this is most appealing to me because if you can remember in my maiden address, the maiden address that I had, I know you call this my maiden, but the other maiden address, in this, the first maiden, in this honorable house, I would have spoken to the importance of fathers in the life of our young men. Mr. Speaker, I am therefore delighted that the ministry has seen it fit to develop a means of filling this void by finding upstanding men in our society who are willing and able to provide this much needed attention and guidance to our boys and young men. And I would also like at this point to commend the men who came forward to give up their time and support this worthy endeavor.
Nice.
Mr. Speaker, I am equally heartened by the introduction of Project Viola. We heard the Senator speak of Project Viola. She spoke about it a little bit, but Mr. Speaker, I am encouraged by this program, and I am happy that in 2017 it will be strengthened. This show of support for our teen mothers can only prove to be an empowering experience for them. Our teen mothers need our support. They need to know that they are not alone. Our teen mothers need to be encouraged that their newfound role of being a mother does not stop them from attaining their goals of continued higher education that will prepare them for the world of work or even propel them to a position of being able to own their own businesses. And so I am encouraged that this program will receive the continued support required in 2017. Mr. Speaker, this will only prove to build stronger women in our society, the largest contributors, women, and as these young mothers would now be equipped with the support and resources that is required to ensure their development, we know we will see them being able to push themselves forward. Mr. Speaker, this leads me to my next point. And looking at the efforts of empowering our youths to ownership, as was outlined by the Ministry of Youth. Mr. Speaker, I believe that a combined effort of encouraging our young mothers towards developing themselves, as offered by the Ministry of Community Development, Gender Affairs and Social Services, would work in tandem with the Ministry of Youth and its efforts of assisting our youths in fulfilling their ultimate potential. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the objectives set forth by the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, more specifically Ministry of Youth, which has as one of its main thrusts for 2017, increased opportunities for youth entrepreneurship. Increased opportunities for youth entrepreneurship.
Extra 100,000.
A positive, yes. Remember for number 5. This is a positive endorsement towards youth entrepreneurship, the likes that have never been seen from such high levels of the governing body. I am encouraged that the ministry have even gone further by stating that it is working towards becoming, and I quote, the facilitator and catalyst for small business development and ownership. This, Mr. Speaker, is what I call true and genuine empowerment. Mr. Speaker, by building a sense of ownership within our youths will only serve to propel our young people into a state of mind where they are able to envision greater, not only for themselves, but they are also able to focus on how their own little contribution can have a great impact on the continued success of our nation.
Excellent.
Mr. Speaker, we can always judge the future of any country by the way in which it empowers its youths. And noting the ministry's thrust in this regard is certainly encouragement on what our future holds for the youths within our federation and by extension the federation at large. No, can't forget the youth policy, because I was also pleased to know that you're continuing that effort in making sure that policy is tabled. Though the young people in our federation will know that we care, we are concerned, we hear you, we believe in you, and we're going to make every effort to ensure that whatever we do will benefit you as well. And I am pleased by that.
This solid declaration.
Mr. Speaker, as I alluded to earlier, I want to focus my attention on the National Drug Council, the National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention. As I do believe that this agency can deliver the greatest impact to securing the lives of our future, the youth within our federation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as much as this budget focuses on empowerment, we must note that this cannot be achieved if there are no other mechanisms in place that supports discharge through prevention and care. We must face the reality that as much as we wish to see positive growth and development, there are still elements of negative behaviors, peer pressure, and antisocial behaviors that continue to plague our young people and working against the well-meaning good efforts of those in authority. It is therefore equally important that as a governing body, we recognize the importance that preventative programs contribute to assisting in our fight for positive outcomes. Mr. Speaker, the National Council on Drug Abuse and Prevention has as its mandate the formulation of policies and development of programs intended to prevent or reduce drug abuse and to promote and encourage the implementation of those policies and programs. It is also responsible for educating the public, particularly the youth, on the dangers of drug misuse and abuse. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, the National Council on Drug Abuse Prevention, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, carried out the 4th Secondary secondary school drug prevalence survey. The results for me were extremely alarming, Mr. Speaker. The survey revealed that roughly 6 out of every 10 secondary school students surveyed perceive that drugs are available in their schools. 75% of the students were of the opinion that students bring drugs to school. Almost 50% of the respondents reported that they had seen other students using drugs around the school environment. 42% indicated that they have used illegal drugs at least once. Mr. Speaker, these results are alarming. These results indicate that there is great need for preventative measures to be put in place to ensure that we are able to curtail the effects of drug abuse on our young population. Mr. Speaker, these results suggest that if we are not proactive in our measures, we have the potential of losing our future human resource, a resource that is necessary for any country to be able to successfully develop and thrive. However, Mr. Speaker, I am encouraged. I am encouraged because this budget gives provision for there to be a full-time drug prevention officer within the council who will be responsible for assisting the coordinator with drug education through presentations, evaluating and monitoring prevention and intervention programs, assisting with facilitating some of the activities within the drug prevention programs, and offering much-needed technical support to our schools, Mr. Speaker. Given the results of the survey, this is timely and absolutely necessary if we wish to see our youth fully embrace and take ownership of the efforts of the Ministry of Youth to develop a sense of ownership. This must be done, and this is going to be done. Mr. Speaker, I am also encouraged by other works of the Council, which through the OAS ProSER Adolescent Drug Treatment Training and Certification Program will see individuals certified as adolescent drug treatment specialists. And given those results, it's absolutely necessary. But these specialists will be certified through the University of the West Indies. Again, aiding the efforts of empowerment, not only by certifying these individuals, but also having those individuals who can then assist in drug treatment efforts, which we note is greatly needed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we can also look forward to community outreach activities which will be carried out by the recently established Drug Prevention and Treatment Services, Inc. Activities of drug prevention which meets the people where they are, in their communities. They go into the communities, reach those individuals, see where they are on the spectrum, how much help do you need, what can we do, and they provide that service right in the communities. These people don't have to go hunting and looking for where can I get help. The help is coming to them, Mr. Speaker, and that is encouraging. Mr. Speaker, we cannot take the work of the Council for granted. This Council will provide much-needed preventative guidance required for the government to be able to push its empowerment agenda. And so I am pleased that this budget has made provision for the much-needed drug prevention officer who will give support to the Council in these efforts. Mr. Speaker, I said I won't be long. And so in closing, Mr. Speaker, I would like to note that of great importance to me, and the one thing that keeps me fighting in service, Mr. Speaker, is being able to leave a St. Kitts and Nevis that my children would be proud of. One that would allow them to be able to meet their greatest potential and in turn be able to contribute meaningfully to its continued success and development. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I must lend support to this budget, Mr. Speaker. I do believe that this budget is placing our federation on that path that I am well pleased, Mr. Speaker. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
Solid.
Thank you very much, Senator Nisbett.
Excellent.
I must say that I am myself pleased that I am the one presiding as you made your maiden presentation on a budget.